What's up, guys? I'm going to be talking about the first chances of snow actually coming into portions of the upper Midwest, including Illinois, Northwest Indiana, and oops, didn't mean to do that. There we go. Click it on the right maps. Kind of going into Weather Bureau here, but yeah, we have our first chances of snowflakes flying across portions of northern Illinois, Northwest Indiana, Michigan, even northern Iowa getting in some of the action. And all thanks to the systems that will be coming through and the cold air arriving behind. It'll be our first actual Arctic blast of the year, bringing temperatures down into the lower to mid-teens in some locations. I think the coldest we'll actually have the temperatures is probably Monday morning. Our temperatures will be in the teens in most places, near between 12 and 18 degrees. That's the real feel for temperature-wise in the atmosphere. Well, not the atmosphere, but Earth's surface temperatures. Atmosphere, the temperatures will be a lot colder, 850 millibars. Just right above our heads, about 6,000 feet or so. So we're gonna go ahead and check out temperatures here, and we'll also check out the how much snow we're possibly gonna get and what could actually possibly stick. So here's the European model. I think this is the 12Z run, and we're going to go ahead and check out the temperatures here. So temperatures throughout the week will be cold during the night, warmer during the day, colder again at night, warmer during the day. Don't forget, we actually have a Northern Lights show here that's actually going to partake across the portion of the northern U.S. tomorrow until Friday. They issued a G3 watch. So the CME that's actually coming in is actually in line with Earth, and we'll probably have a good chance of seeing the Northern Lights before this snow system comes in this weekend. So hopefully the clouds just stay out of the area and we look north over the lakes. It'll be cold. Make sure to dress up warm if you're out there to chase the Northern Lights, and have your cameras out there ready, of course. Well, here we go. We go into Saturday. You can see the system swirl coming in here. Temperatures during the day. On Saturday afternoon, evening seem to be in the lower to upper 40s in some locations, lower 50s down there, and then 60s and almost 70s down there across southern portions of the southern portions of Illinois, Indiana, and western Kentucky. See, the colder air arrives behind. You got that little swirl right there. So the low tells me it's over there portions just west of Champaign and southwest Kankakee at that point. Over there, down to the south, east of Bloomington. That low kind of pushes off to the east, but in front of it, you see temperatures are in the lower to mid 50s in some locations. Now, you know, if we did have enough forcing and enough moisture to kind of feed up in here with those temperatures, and if we get temperatures 50s and 60s, we would be talking maybe marginal low top supercells as the low starting to curve its way off to the east. But I don't think we're going to have it scenario at this time. I think this definitely be like a rainmaker in the front. Very cold temperatures arriving in from the back. You see your temperatures dip off into the lower to mid 30s very quickly, going into Saturday night. Wait, hold on. Yeah, that's Saturday night, late night going into Sunday. Sunday after the system leaves, so there's going to be snow here on the system, right? I think the European model in Pivotal shows you better detail with precipitation type on where it's actually setting up at. So here we go. Here comes the low coming in. So you got that swirl of temperatures there, and just overlooking to check the dew points to see if there's moisture feeding up here, like maybe mid 50 dew points. You would have the possibility of maybe some low top, maybe some supercells or brief tornadoes for the most part, because it's right there on the low. There's decent turning for the most part, but there just isn't a lot of stuff to work with. There's no 0 to 3 kilometer cape. There's a little bit of cape 200 pushing in underneath that. But I would like to see what the HER model and the NAM 3 kilometer model does say about that. If we could get some low top rotating storms near the low as it exits off to the east. If there's enough moisture, maybe some a cold core setup you would talk about. But the chances of that happening based on some of the dynamics I'm seeing, well, the dynamics are really good. The shear's good, but the cape isn't. The moisture isn't right where it needs to be on the European model, and everything's also not into play. So here's the European model. See, there's definitely some mixing. Obviously, some between rain and snow mix here, mixing it on the backside, maybe some sleet coming in there for portions of northeast Illinois, but it doesn't seem like that northern and northeast Illinois on the European model is going to get snow. The snow maker is probably going to be here across portions of central and southern Michigan based on the European model, and even then we're going to have some very strong winds here feeding along the I-94. Let's go ahead and zoom in here. So on the I-94 and even portions of northern Indiana and northeast Illinois based on the European model does say that there could be near or possible blizzard conditions if there is snow falling, because visibility is going to be down to quarter mile or less with the wind blowing along the lake, and then you get that lake effect snowband. It does develop for the most part across the area. There's going to be some very gusty winds here slamming into the I-94 corridor, showing in between wind gusts up to 45 or 50 or 55 mile an hour gusts there just along the lakeshore itself. If you're on I-94 going across northwest Indiana, anywhere inland, you're going to see gusts of 38 to 40 miles an hour for the most part. But you're going to have a really dynamic lake effect snow event that could possibly set up here, targeting portions of northwest Indiana and southwest Michigan. But there's going to be some very strong winds spinning in and off the lake. You get some big wave actions out there as well. Good time for the surfers to come out. If you want to stay in cold waters, go ahead. You got the swimsuit to help with that. The dry suit I meant. But the dynamics coming together to have a more dynamic lake effect snow event. The winds stay northwesterlies, and on the east side of that that moisture convergence band coming down the lake, that long fetch. If the east side of it strays north, and then the left side of it stays northwest, it can kind of convert, like a convergence band that sets up as a dominant band. It kind of feeds into northwest Indiana and kind of goes in more. There is definitely the winds to help support it and bring it in more, way more inland than it needs to be. We'll see if it stays dominant or not. Obviously, it's too far to tell, but the European model has been very consistently on showing this dominant lake effect snow band, setting up sometime Sunday night, going into Monday morning across portions of northwest Indiana, and just dumping a ton of snow, it seems like. The higher, with the European models being this strong of a signal, showing that lake effect snow is going to be this dynamic, being this far out, I can only imagine what the higher resolution models are going to look like once the system kind of comes in more, and we'll kind of just pick it up from there. But even your 10:1 snow ratio here, showing anywhere between 8 and 12 inches of snow between the system and lake effect snow combined together across portions of northwest Indiana to southern southwest Michigan. That's just a 10:1 ratio snow, so if it's a heavy wet snow. Here's the actual, with actual temperatures combined, melting in snow, rain mix, and everything else. It could be looking anywhere between maybe 3 and 8 inches. So it all depends on how much the rain does last ahead of the system as it kind of comes in. The snow wraps around the backside. There could be a slush accumulation of a half an inch or an inch across portions of northern or northeast Illinois. Still to be determined with that. And then you have the really cold temperatures that kind of wrap around the backside, of course, that Arctic air that kind of comes in swinging. You get the northerly northwest wind fetch across the lake, which kind of goes all the way connecting from Lake Superior all the way down into the southern southeast portions of Lake Michigan, which will create that long lake effect snow band that everyone's been wanting to see this season. And the Whitewaters are very warm, very cold air for the first time coming over the lake. Of course, we're going to see that big time lake effect snow event here set up across northwest Indiana and southwest Michigan. So we're all very excited for that. So the higher resolution models are going to pick up on that more in the near term. So probably in the next 48 to 72 hours, we'll probably have a better signal. Excuse me. On how things develop and how that swings on through. But other than that, there isn't really much detail to kind of go over and just wait to see how this does develop. But I am watching that as the system kind of comes through between the European model and the GFS. The GFS still trying to hold on to a couple inches of snow possibly across portions of northern Illinois. But I think it's going to be like a heavy wet snow and a messy slush. So I guarantee that probably half an inch or two is probably the only thing that's going to stick. And the cold temperatures overnight might help it stick even longer if it's not already off the roadway by then and slushy turns to rain. But that lake effect snow event that does kick off into northwest Indiana and southwest Michigan will be late Sunday night into Tuesday early morning. Determine how that band develops and sets up. The lake warm water, the warm waters of Lake Michigan is very important to have any significant lake effect snow events, and also the convergence band, how it sets up and shifts and how it connects between Lake Superior and Fetch and all the way down the lake, and how that wind shift does come into play as well. But we won't even get into those details, specifics here till we actually get into closer to the event. So stay tuned for that, and that's all I have.